Stunning allegations of collusion with an alleged gang leader wanted for a heist, and at the center of it all, the officer in charge of the Criminal Investigation Department. Good evening, everyone. I'm Janaea Noel. Thanks so much for joining us. Chief Superintendent Michael Johnson has agreed to be placed on administrative leave as investigations proceeding into several voice notes that flooded social media today, the contents of which have caused an uproar online and also within the ranks of the Royal Bahamas Police Force. It's alleged that several individuals were negotiating a deal for the accused persons to be cleared of those charges. Well, the Commissioner of Police, Clayton Fernander, addressing the matter today through a press release, he sought to assure the public that the Royal Bahamas Police Force takes these allegations very seriously and said, quote, "We are committed to maintaining the highest standards of integrity and professionalism within the ranks." Our Linton Ritchie Jr. joining me live in studio tonight with the latest on this. Linton?
That's right. Good evening, Janaea. 5 voice notes circulated media last night has put the integrity of the Royal Bahamas Police Force under a microscope, as it is alleged that Chief Superintendent Michael Johnson was reportedly discussing a deal with a man known to police and a lawyer to have the accused cleared of the charges that police would have put him before the courts for. The voice notes began with the purported voice of Johnson suggesting to the accused that they should meet in person.
And listen to what I saying. Why don't let's talk, man. Let's talk. Real talk.
That's what they doing now. That's what I saying. What you saying?
Boy, I talk to him and talk. Just talking, but just saying talk.
You gotta say something.
Yeah, but man, listen. I can't say what I want to say on the board, but I can't say what I want to say.
Alleged corruption within the Royal Bahamas Police Force following the leak of a series of voice notes allegedly involving a high-ranking police officer, purported gang leader now deceased, Michael Fox Jr., and a lawyer. It is purported that all parties involved wanted to meet in person to discuss a payout to have those wanted for an alleged heist that took place in November 2023 cleared. The alleged lawyer explaining the price that will have to be paid.
You can sit down for 5 days, just straight. They wouldn't even take you to court.
What they saying? They bill less.
I being real with you now. He tell me he want what?
Yeah.
He want what?
The accused ensuring with the alleged lawyer that the $100,000 that the high-ranking officer is charging him will grant him full immunity.
So what's just but them why would they get posts up? They need to start taking them down. At least I can talk to them anyhow. With them wanted posts in there. With the wanted post up.
Yeah, but they ain't gonna officially do it that you step in. That's the real. So they saying. So what I'm saying is you want everything covered, you and him. That's what you're talking about.
Man, that's supposed to cover me and him.
The alleged lawyer confirms.
So when he's saying that,
He said that'll be straight everything. You know what I mean? That'll be over. Everything will be mash.
However, those involved expressed the urgency of having the deal sealed.
So this is a good time to deal now, because your boy off the island, the commissioner. And so come in, say he fly out today. He just saying that just to make you niggas can't put no pressure on him. He's basically in charge of the operation.
In the final leaked voice message, it is alleged that the now deceased Fox confirms the deal with the high-ranking officer.
everything's smooth. What I can go round up, you see?
All right then.
Yeah.
Before the voice notes were leaked, it is purported that the alleged gang leader, now deceased Michael Fox Jr., made references throughout the conversation about 2 wanted flyers with him and another man. Since then, both him and the other male 28-year-old Dino Smith has been killed. Dino Smith met his demise on Prince Charles Drive at a stoplight where him and another female were ambushed by gunmen when they were killed in their vehicle. Michael Fox Jr. meeting his demise less than 4 months later as he was ambushed by gunmen where they riddled his car, his black Acura, with bullets. Now, Janaea, this is a story we are continuing to follow. I'm Linton Ritchie Jr. sending it back to you at the desk.
Stunning allegations of collusion with an alleged gang leader twist Eyewitness News understands that the security company in question, where those funds were stolen from during the heist, belongs to a former police officer who reportedly told sources close to the matter that his company experienced significant loss and reputational damage, adding that they were also told that police were allegedly involved in planning that attack. Again, as we said, it's a story we are continuing to follow.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining me. This is a pop-up live that we're having today. And the reason we're having this is because we have to have this discussion. A lot of people are talking about what has been going on after the last several days. And we all know what happened last night. I think every Bahamian knows what happened last night. A lot of Americans are now talking about it. I'm receiving calls from Americans about what is going on in the little Bahamas. Well, the Bahamas is now in the dark ages. And the reason I have to go live and explain this today on the eve of our independence is because we have to make a choice on whether we continue in the wrong direction or if we go in a new direction. We have to make that choice. A whistleblower was almost assassinated last night. Someone who decided to speak up. In this nation, most people are timid. Most people don't want to speak out against anything because they don't want to be victimized. And victimization is something that was going on from the first PLP administration, from the UBP administration before them. But in the last PLP administration, they will cut you down. They will economically destroy you. They will hurt you, make sure your family can't eat, no one can eat. This continued under Hubert Ingram, who was vicious against his enemies. And it continued on and on. And this is why most Bahamians are timid and most Bahamians are afraid to do anything in this country, to speak up, to stand up. But we have to have a country where Bahamians can live and be free from fear of victimization or reprisals. Every Bahamian should stand with Sylvins Mateo. It's not because he's a perfect person or isn't a perfect person. It's because he's a person. Everyone should stand with him because he's a person who decided to make that stand that a lot of us want to make, but we don't have the courage to. Sylvins had the courage to speak out, to put his life at risk, knowing that he was putting his life at risk. And I'm going to tell you my first experience with him. Yeah, I had conversations with him. He decided to take a stand, regardless of what it would do. I know the feeling. I've experienced the threats. I've reported the threats and seen the police do nothing about it. I've experienced the backlash. I've experienced victimization. I've experienced businesses being attacked and shut down. I've experienced a business being burnt down. When you decide to speak out in this country, they attack your business. And then they say, look, he can't keep a business open. They try to make sure your children can't eat. If all that don't work, and you don't shut your mouth, it will kill you. There are people going missing and we're not seeing them again, more than ever before. We've seen members of parliament killed. No explanation. There are so many murders that we don't understand. But there's so much to talk about this afternoon. I decided to go live this afternoon. I know many of you are at work. You're doing your day to day, but I didn't want to go live this evening so close to Independence. I want to do this now and talk about this now. I've been investigating what's going over there with Sylvans. We've been trying to find out what's going on. We've been trying to locate him to make sure that he's safe and okay, and to let him know that we're going to stand with him, and all of you should stand with him. They're going to try to attack his reputation and say, oh, he's a bad boy. He has a bad boy history. That means you shouldn't listen to him. Can a prostitute be raped? If someone is a prostitute, that means that no matter what you do to them, it isn't rape. It doesn't matter who a person is, what their reputation is. We should listen to them. We've had the man who wrote most of the Bible be a killer, killing Christians. God chose him. We had a man who was a killer and a fugitive. God chose him to lead the children of Israel. And some cussing fishermen. So if God chose to use that man at this time because he is the man that have the courage to put the message out there to expose what's going on, then we should listen. But we're going to have a conversation today. As I start this, I want you to ask yourself a question. Have you noticed something? Have you noticed that since all of this has been exposed, there's not been one murder? Isn't that interesting? All of a sudden, murder stopped? Just like that? Wow. Can some of the murders be systematic? Did you notice that in the beginning of the year, they had a bunch of murders? They had a lot of murders. And it wasn't until America started to speak about it and they put a warning out about the Bahamas. Didn't you notice that right after that, all of a sudden, the murder stopped? Could it be that some persons in power might be pulling the strings of who gets killed and who don't get killed? Don't you think it's curious that the murder stopped when they wanted it to stop? Do you think that's curious? Don't you think that all of a sudden, since this thing came out, exposing what's going on with in the police force, isn't it curious that murders stopped? I want you all to wake up, and I'm saying this to put your mind in the right perspective. Well, pay attention. In New York, you can't rob a bank without permission from the mafia. You can't do any crime without permission. Chicago, where the mafia is, same thing. You can't rob a Grammy without permission to rob a Grammy in that neighborhood. I put it to you that crime in the Bahamas is the same way. It is systematic for the most part. And the higher ups know exactly what's going on, but we're going to get into all that in a minute. But I just I just saw that I was curious, and I hope that you noticed that too. Something else I want you to notice, that some names are starting to come together, and there's some people who seem to be connected. Murder Squad. Wow. At CDU. Wow. Before I get started, I want you to notice something very interesting. Do you remember when we were arrested for CARICOM? Remember when we went to CARICOM? It wasn't CARICOM, it was before CARICOM. Remember that? Remember how we went there and I was having a press conference outside of Bahama, and they came and they kidnapped me and abducted me and drove me around, etc., and then kept us for days. And remember how they went on the beach and started attacking people and etc., etc.? Do you know who they put in charge of investigating that? The Murder Squad. Do you remember me telling you that? They sent the The murder squad, not the police station where we were, not even CDU, not anything, not any investigators. They sent the murder squad to investigate a political matter where no crime was being committed. Why is it that they use the murder squad? Is that because that's the people who are under their control? That's the people who are going to obey their orders and do their darkness? The murder squad was used to investigate us. Remember? I'm just putting some things there for you to understand before we get started. The reason I said that the police force is corrupt is not because police officers are corrupt. I do not believe that every police officer is corrupt. I do not even believe that the majority of police officers are corrupt. I don't believe that. I believe that most police officers want to do what's right. I've experienced that. Most police officers want to do what's right. There are some bad apples who don't do what's right, but most police officers want to do what's right. But the problem why I'm calling the police force corrupt is because the fish rots from the head. The police force is not necessarily corrupt, but the leadership of the police force is corrupt. The leadership is corrupt to the bone. Where do we start? And then I'll tell you my experience with Sylvans. You see, we have a problem. Every single time a government comes in, they put their puppet to run the police force. And yes, because people won't get the notification, do your @followers and @highlight so that people will know that I'm live, because they don't get the notification. In fact, they block it sometimes. The last commissioner of police, who was also accused of corruption, remember McAfee, the person who invented the antivirus? He had made some allegations against the last commissioner of police. I'm not saying whether those allegations are true or not, but I'm saying that there were allegations. And he then became commissioner. All right? He became commissioner of police. This commissioner of police is now facing allegations. I'm not saying if those allegations are true or not. I don't know. I'm just saying that there are allegations where his name was called. And then a man was shot up. The commissioner of police, and so now we have two commissioners of police who are being accused of corruption, and they could be lying on them. But this is what is happening in our country. We must not just avoid corruption, but the appearance of corruption. All right? And so now we have a commissioner of police who is the friend, the close friend of the prime minister. And so the prime minister put him in that position, brought him back and put him in that position as commissioner so he could have someone that he could control there. Not only did he put him there, but where the appearance of corruption comes in is that he then took a bunch of money and gave it to this man. There was a lawsuit, and they had the right to settle that lawsuit if they wanted to. But in settling that lawsuit, they said they're going to keep the amount a secret. So they could have given, they could have given him $20 million and then say, listen, you keep 5 of that, and then you give us 15. They ain't gonna tell, they'll never find out how much. Because when the F&M come in, they ain't gonna do nothing. Just like how we don't do any commission of inquiry or anything to them, they won't do it to us. So just hold on this $20 million, you keep 5, and just do what I say. All right? We don't know. And the reason we don't know is because, one, they won't give us a Freedom of Information Act because they're corrupt. There's no other reason, because they're doing skullduggery. And two, we don't know because it's the appearance of corruption. How about that? The appearance of corruption. All right? And so if you had given him a settlement and then say, listen, we gave this man $2 million because what Minister did was wrong, you say, okay, you gave him $2 million. But for you to say, we are not telling you, the commissioner's salary is not a secret. Members of Parliament's salary is not a secret. Public servants are supposed to publicly declare their assets. So nothing about them should be a secret when they are receiving our funds. So how could you say you just giving them some money, but you keeping that secret? Before elections, I warned everybody about this administration. I told you that I was concerned about the deals that were being made with criminals, and people didn't listen to me. They said, oh, why is he saying this? Why is he saying this stuff? You know, just stay on point. Talk about the natural resources. But I was talking about what I knew and information that I was getting. Deals that were made with criminals. This government is being run like a mafia right now. It's hard to say. And the police force is being used to do their bidding. Whatever they want. We've experienced this. How do you have a press conference? So just to repeat, I warned everyone what would happen. I told you that there would be a bloodbath because of what I was hearing and the deals that were being made. I told you there would be a bloodbath. I told you crime would increase. Just remember what I was telling you. And I was willing to get scorned and ridiculed for saying these things because this is my one country. And I'm not going to be able to say everything that's politically correct because it's serious. If the tire flat, if we driving in the car and the tire flat, I got to say, listen, the tire flat, man, because I won't get where we going without being ridiculed. All right? And so I warned everybody. Now, drug dealers are getting the contracts. The criminals are working with the government and doing their bidding. This is cowboy town right now. How do you have a press conference on a serious matter like this and then tell the media y'all only get 2 questions each? 2 questions. That's it. You're talking about 3 topics or 2 topics, and you only get 2 questions. So on the matter of the gentleman who went missing at the yoga retreat, on that matter, you discussed that. But we could only ask 1 question for that and 1 question for the matter with Michael Johnson, the head of CDU. How does that make sense to anybody? How does that add up? But that's what they did. They silenced the media. Now, of course, during the media, PLP troll Rodney Munker, who's being paid our money for no reason as a payback to the Minister of National Security, that troll was allowed to ask some more questions. Okay? But how do you tell the media only 2 questions? That's it. I could understand if we have a big media core of like 30 people or 40 people like they have in the US, etc. But maybe you'll have 5 stations there, if that much, 5 media houses, if that much. So why are you restricting these people from asking pertinent questions to the Bahamian people? That's one thing. The more important thing is, one of the persons whose name was called in all of this that's going on right now, whether it's true or false, I'm not saying whether anyone is guilty or not guilty, but one of the persons whose name was brought up was Christlyn Skippings. Her name was called by this man who is now shot, all right, and fighting for his life or injured. So Christlyn Skippings' name was called, but she is there controlling the press conference and telling the media, listen, 2 questions, eh? And then enforcing that and cutting persons off. No. Even though we let Ronnie Munka ask extra questions, no. Y'all only got 2. You already had your question. We're not hearing anything else from you. Eyewitness News, we let you do another one because of your connections, I guess. So how could Christlyn Skippings, whose name was called, be conducting this thing that is critical when you want the Bahamian people to trust you? Think about that. That was a grave error, Mr. Commissioner, because her name is called. I'm not saying what is called for, that she's guilty of anything, but we need the Bahamian people to get back to trusting the police force. I doubt they will do that while persons appointed by Brave Davis are there, but at least we can start moving in that correct direction. The next problem is, with that press conference that happened, the next problem is that they said that they're going to have international partners are going to assist with this. And that clearly was a flam. That clearly was fake as can be. Why am I saying that? Because one of the reporters asked them to specify which international partners are going to be assisting with this. Remember that? And of course, they brushed that question aside. And the commissioner of police literally said, because the person asked him, is it going to be the FBI or Scotland Yard? FBI or Scotland Yard. And you know what the commissioner said? The US and the UK, or the UK. One, why weren't they at this press conference? So we could believe you. 2, the US and the UK. Who in the US and the UK? Are you going to let Walmart do this or Amazon? Who in the US or the UK? Is going to be the Army or the Navy? Who in the US or the UK? You see, we're not our grandmother's generation. And the fact that you are running around from answering these questions means that maybe you're lying. Because we had Wayne Monroe make certain statements about the FBI assisting with an investigation, then we come to hear by U.S. authorities that's not true. That's not true at all. And so when they say international partners, that could mean anything. That doesn't mean that the FBI is going to be investigating. Remember this, Bahamas. The FBI has no jurisdiction to investigate in the Bahamas. So that doesn't mean them saying that they're going to be there, participate in an investigation to make sure it's independent or whatever. That does not mean anything. And it should not mean anything to any sensible Bahamians. 1, they don't have jurisdiction. All right? And 2, they have not been named as the investigators, nor that the international partners are investigating. It just said they're partners. So, for example, they found the phone of the gentleman that went missing. All right, Mr. Taylor. All right, they found Mr. Taylor's phone, and I say Mr. Taylor because the person is missing, and they told me that the person dresses as a woman, and the problem is if that person went missing while they look like a man, and if you find the person, you still won't know. If you see the person, you still won't know. So I have to be real about who the person is. The person is a man that dresses as a woman. All right, that's what I'm told. And so correct me if I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, I apologize. But I am disturbed that the commissioner of police did not go into those details. It's very concerning. All right. But for example, they found the phone of Mr. Taylor, who went missing at the yoga retreat, and they couldn't get in the phone. All right. So first of all, the police force could not get in that phone. And so they got an international partner to assist them with getting in the phone. All right. So that's just an international partner. That don't mean that they're investigating. That means, listen, we need to get in this phone. Can you help us? So seeking the assistance of international partners could be anything. That could be anything. So we need specifics of exactly what is going to be done. And what do you need to investigate? This is a simple matter. They're trying to make it seem like we need this big international contingent to come in here. Listen, These are voice recordings. This is a man's voice. If that's his voice, and if he was bribing, lock him up. Arrest him, put him before the court. We're not interested in this nonsense about garden leave. Garden leave? That's absolute nonsense. Garden leave means when you're still working. So you're sorry. Garden leave came from the British term, which means that you're home working on your garden, doing your own thing, while you're still getting paid. All right, that's all that means. And normally they have garden leave when the person is going to retire or leave or be fired, possibly, and they don't want them there in the area to be able to change stuff around, change locks or make files go missing, et cetera, et cetera. That's where the concept of garden leave came from. All right. But if this is an investigation, the investigation, normally when they will investigate you, they come and lock you up. So let me give you an example. When Charlotte Green made some statements about Shane Gibson, what did they do? They didn't call the FBI. They didn't say that they were opening this huge investigation. You know what they did? They came and locked her up. They locked her up, took her to CDU, questioned her, and when they realized that the things that she was saying was legitimate, they let her go. But they locked her up. That's how I was taught investigations are done on the police force. All right, you question the person so you know what's going on, and in order to question them, you have to arrest them. Now, sometimes police use their discretion and they don't make an arrest. They just ask you questions. But if they want to go any deeper, they have to arrest you. All right. So when Maria made some statements and they wanted to find out, et cetera, what was happening, they came and locked her up. So how is it that you haven't locked up and questioned this man? This always happens when it's certain people. Remember Bradley Roberts? He was accused of rape back in the day. Remember that? And months passed and they would not even question him. And people were like, this is not fair. And the public pressure caused him to eventually have to do some things. Remember the latest MP, Kirk Cornish, who was accused of rape. They took forever to even question him. But if it was you see the difference? And so we have to realize what is going on. And so look at the players. The commissioner who got this money from us, and they can't tell us how much money it is, which means in our opinion, we should be free to assume that the commissioner is corrupted because he accepted money from the prime minister and they did not tell us how much money it is. We are free to say that the police force from the head is corrupt. I'll get into that a minute later. So anyone who wants to assume that situation is corrupt, the commissioner, the prime minister, who's your friend, appointed you. 1, he gave you money. 2, and did not tell us how much money it is. 3, we have seen instances where the previous commissioner said, who was also accused of some things, said himself that he is corrupt. He admitted that he is corrupt. He said that the former prime minister, Mr. Minnis, made him do some things that he did not want to do. Remember that? That is corruption. Remember, the commissioner of police is a constitutional position. You don't have to answer to nobody. Nobody. All right? No one. The Minister of National Security is not the boss of the Commissioner of Police. He's the boss of the Commodore of the Defense Force, the prisons, etc., immigration, etc. He's not the boss of the Commissioner of Police. The Commissioner of Police has no boss. And in fact, when the House is dissolved, the Commissioner of Police is the boss. He acts as Prime Minister at the time. He controls the country as the Provost Marshal. All right. And so he doesn't have to answer, but they are appointed and they're so grateful to having that. And they want to have a job after they leave the police force, so they do what they are told. All right. So I'm going to go as far as I can in this. I'm going to go as far as I can, because there's some things I want to say and expose, and it might not be the time. Sylvans Mateo. He's a regular Bahamian young man. He might have a little checkered past. But I had a conversation with him before in Nassau. I had a conversation with him. He reached out to me because he didn't feel anyone else had in the country had the courage to really reveal some things or really address some things. He reached out to me. He said, he felt that the police was involved in the murder of the 6 persons who were killed on Jerome Avenue. And so people call me every day with information, but I don't repeat information because someone gives me information. Not because you tell me something, I'm going to repeat it. And I made that clear to him. And he said, he gave me information as to who is who and what is what. I said, okay, good. But Lincoln Bean doesn't talk without evidence. If you see me talk, I can prove it. And so, he sent me some screenshots of some conversations, and he deleted it. He wanted to meet with Clint Watson. He also met with Clint Watson, who again wanted evidence. And I made it clear to him, if I don't get evidence, I don't touch a matter. And everyone knows that about me now. All right? And so I don't touch it. But what I discovered in the conversations I had with him was that he seemed to have a genuine heart about this. He felt like there was corruption on the police force, and he felt that that was wrong. And I saw a genuineness in him. And he may be rough around the edges. Some people feel that about me. I don't know why, but some people feel I'm rough around the edges. But he may be rough around the edges. But I saw a genuine concern for Bahamian young men who were being cut down by persons in authority with the ability to use the law to cut them down, or who would aid criminals. And so I saw that genuineness in him. And he was so passionate about this that some people, dismissed him because of the way he expressed himself, but he was genuine about this. He didn't feel that another Bahamian young man should die because of corruption on the police force. And I saw that, and he still has that to this day. And he felt like no one had the courage to touch some of the things that he was talking about. And I can assure you that they're not going to scare him. When he comes back out, he's going to come out with more. And this is why I'm asking all Bahamians to stand with him. Not for the sake of standing with him, but for the sake of standing for our country. Someone says the live is being distorted. Let me just put up a device so I could just monitor and see how it's going. All right, just want to see how, make sure this is clear. All right, live is good. And so we have to stand up because the politicians use these people. Now, look at this. Clayton Fernander and Leamond Deleveaux was appointed commissioner and deputy commissioner so that they could be puppets for Brave Davis. I've experienced the corruption of Leamond Deleveaux myself. And I say that because, I was abducted by him. Um, and I'm going to read a report that he read. I'm going to read this report, not to say that to affect the court case or to sway you one way or another. Don't take my word for anything. If we are guilty for what we did during the period of CARICOM, then lock us up, man. Throw us in jail. It's worth it to stand up for your country. All right. So my conversation on that will not be to convince you one way or another whether we should be guilty or not guilty or to sway that case. Is really literally because it's public information. I'm just going to read to you what Leamond Deleveaux said. This is the commissioner of police responsible for discipline. Y'all want to see the report he wrote? And he wrote this to the Supreme Court because we sued the government for what they did to us during CARICOM. And in fact, we had a case on that today. We had to appear in court today. And we have probably about, I don't know the exact number, probably at least 6 lawsuits against the government right now for things that they did to us, breaking the law. This Gestapo-style government. Let me pull up his report for you all. And again, this report is in the public domain. And I'm not saying this to say that we are innocent or guilty or to sway the case one way or another. You come to your own conclusion. If we are guilty, we must pay. But I'm willing to pay for freedom because freedom ain't free. I'm willing to pay for the New Bahamas. I'm willing to be locked up 10,000 more times if we could just have a country that is owned by us, that we could secure for our children and our future. I'm willing. And so don't think I'm doing this to sway this case in any way. But this has been filed in the Supreme Court, so all of you can go there and see this. And so here you see Clayton Fernander. Yes, we're suing him. Chief Superintendent Barrett, Chief Superintendent Darren Nixon, Assistant Commissioner of Police Zhivago Dames, Assistant COP BK Barnaby, Assistant Commissioner of Police Craig Stubbs, Assistant Commissioner of Police Leamond Deleveaux, the Attorney General, and so we're suing all of these persons in a constitutional motion right now. All right. You'll remember that the police came and did certain things to people on that day who were exercising their constitutional rights. All right. And so here you see the actual documentation, but here is the affidavit of Leamond Deleveaux. And this shows you the police force. I want you to remember what you experienced, what you saw that day live in front of the whole Bahamas, and then I want you to watch what it was written in writing. It says Leamond Deleveaux of the city of Nassau of the island of province, I'll skip over that, make oath. So he swear, affidavit, this to the Supreme Court. All right, that I'm deputy commissioner. My responsibility as deputy commissioner is he's in charge of disciplinary matters in the police force, in charge of the police tribunal, in charge of complaints and corruption unit, in charge of prosecutions in the court, in charge of court liaison section, in charge of matters pertaining to remand cell. So he's in charge of the complaints and corruption unit. Wow. All right. And so it says, I am duly authorized to make this affidavit on behalf of the defendants herein, and I do so from information within my personal knowledge as deputy commissioner, et cetera, et cetera. All right. Number 4, any matters disposed of. In other words, he's saying that this stuff that he know and believe to be true. All right. I'll skip over. Let me see, number 5. This affidavit is made in response to the claimant's originating notice of motion filed on the 16th of February, 2023. Herein, they seek determination of Supreme Court on the following reliefs, namely, A, an order that the said arrest and detentions of Mr. Lincoln Bain, Charlotte Green, and others, the arrest and detention, were illegal and thereby void and of no effect, in that the police officers of the Royal Bahamas Police Force are in breach of the plaintiff's constitutional rights, etc. All right, so I won't read all of these here. I'll just skip to his testimony because he's just saying why he's doing this. He said the Commissioner of Police paid Mr. Lincoln Bain and Charlotte Green and others Oh, that's just still more of the they're being asked to pay damages, to pay us costs of arrest and damages, et cetera, because we suing them. All right. Let me see. This affidavit is made in response to an affidavit of Marie Doxson. By letter dated the 6th of February, Ms. Charlotte Green, National Chairman, Coalition of Independents, wrote to the Commissioner of Police requesting permission to have a peaceful assembly. All right. And so it ain't really requesting permission because you don't need permission to have a peaceful assembly, nor to have a protest. But it's really to inform the Commissioner of Police. But let me just read this raw. To have a peaceful assembly in the vicinity of Carignan is being held on the 15th through the 17th. A copy of the letter dated is here, all right? On the 7th of February 2023, Commissioner of Police wrote Mrs. Green informing her that the request to hold a peaceful protest within the vicinity of Carignan was denied. So it went from peaceful assembly to peaceful protest. Okay. The commissioner also informed Ms. Green in the letter that if any protesters are found in or around the jurisdiction of the domains, police action will be strictly enforced. A copy of the letter is here. Further, Assistant Commissioner of Police Craig Stubbs, on the 10th day, in other words, he delivered the letter to her, all right, and in the presence of Mr. Bain at police headquarters. And another. On the 15th day of February, the claimants, together with a crowd of protesters, unlawfully assembled at Bahama in the vicinity of Caricom, heads of government meeting. Having been previously forewarned by the commissioner against protesting, they did. There's no permission that you need to have a protest. We had a meeting with the Commissioner of Police before this or during this, and he agreed that according to international law, you don't need permission to have a protest, and according to local law, all right? But anyway, I'll continue reading this. Mr. Bain informed the police officers that he was a registered guest at Bahama. Once this information was discovered by Mr. Robert Sands, Senior Vice President of Bahama, Mr. Bain's reservations were canceled. This is all right. He said, further, having been informed of the cancellation, Mr. Bain and others present with him were asked to disperse. Do you all remember that man coming there, pulling up in the car, walking towards me and say, hey, you gotta go from here, and grabbing me and taking me away? Do you see that this is saying something different that would actually happen? Well, anyway, I'm just showing you what he is saying, and I'm not saying, discussing this for better or worse, or to sway you one way with this case. You make your own decision. This is a public document. You can go there and get it yourself and read it. And I'm not going to discuss the merits of it. But I just want you to see this and then remember what actually happened. The crowd of protesters, including Mr. Bain and Charlotte Green, became disorderly and was subsequently arrested by officers of the Royal Bahamas Police Force in the execution of their duties. Wow. So, do you remember this? Is this what y'all remember? Because I can't discuss it. Is this what y'all remember? Mr. Bain was arrested, officially interviewed by the police, charged and arraigned before the court docket, whatever, for unlawful assembly, contrary to Section 11. Y'all see? See, when you have the police, and so many of our young men and women are going through this on a daily basis, despite reality, and I'm not saying that in reference to this case, despite the reality, there are corrupt persons who will write a different report. Again, not saying that in reference to this. All right? And so, I just want you to see that. Because that person right there, now all of you remembered what happened on that day. Someone says that's a different situation. That situation they were talking about there was Caricom. Remember, I was at Bahama, came outside, started to be interviewed by the by the news media. Remember that? And the police came to talk to me. I told them I'm a guest, and they said, "Oh, ain't nothing we could do." And I guess, and the hotel told them Mr. Butler, who was just in an accident, a boating accident recently, and we wish him well. Mr. Butler, who was head of security, actually told them that yes, they could be in as a guest, and we don't have a problem with him being here once he don't protest in the hotel. But he's a guest, and that was that. Leamond Deleveaux showed up, came there. You gotta go now. You gotta go. Grabbed me, pulled me, carried him in the car, took me away. They asked persons to go to Bahama, which they did, and then they went to Bahama, and then they started rounding up people, the people with cameras first, rounding up people, throwing them in the bus. Remember that? Did you see that in that report? Is my question. All right, so that's up to you. So again, I'm not saying that to sway you one way or another as it relates to that case. If we are guilty, we should pay, and if we did any wrong, we should suffer for the wrong that we did. All right, but I want you to see that is the man in charge of discipline on the force and corruption. And so you come to your own conclusion. Don't let me sway you. Listen to nothing I say. Look at that report or go get it yourself from the Supreme Court. And the live's still on my page. But what happened? When you see, there's people in this country going through this right now. If the commissioner is corrupt, the deputy commissioner got money too, all right, from Bureau of Davis. If the deputy commissioner is corrupt, what you gonna do? What you gonna do? Let me open these lines. You have to call on WhatsApp. WhatsApp call only today. Let me open up the lines for a second so we can hear from you, and then I can talk with a couple more things. We're only doing a short live today, all right? The corruption comes from the top. And again, I have a message for the FNM, because some behemoths might feel, okay, the PLP messing up, let's go to the FNM. Sorry, let me take this off silent. 803-5995 is the numbers. 803-5995. Okay, someone is calling already. Good afternoon, you're live.
Hi, Ms. Jane. You asked us to call in with regards to what we witnessed that day of the Caracom.
No. I wasn't asking you to call in about what you witnessed, because I don't really want to discuss that because I didn't call. We suing them. But I was just telling you to remember what you witnessed, and then look at that sworn statement by the Deputy Commissioner of Police. And if that lines up, if what he said lines up with the truth, then you trust the police force and its head. If it don't line up with the truth, then you should not trust the police force.
No, that ain't line up with it. I watched the entire event, the Caracom attack on the Bahamian rights. And whatever you read in that report, I have no idea what that is. Okay?
Yeah.
And no, I personally don't trust them. I don't trust none of them. I think they're all gangsters, and I think they're all criminals.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say on that. All
Thank
right,
you.
I will continue to listen.
All right. I've experienced threats of death in this country. I'm sorry. Stop this. So I still got to talk about the FNM. I've experienced threats of death. I've made complaints. We've made complaints. And the persons we made complaints. So for the Parliament case, we made complaint against Styles, the fellow who pushed me up the stairs. So that's the one she was talking about earlier online. The fellow who came and attacked me, pushed me up the stairs, right? And what I like with that, and this is why I'm saying that all police are not corrupt. I know because it's the head that is corrupt, that's why we could feel a certain way, but all police are not corrupt. When we were protesting at Parliament and we were passing out the the bill on immigration. We were passing on the bill to be tabled on immigration, and then suggestions for changes that need to be made. The MPs were taking it. Officer Styles got a call, and Officer Styles, and after that call, because he was there too while we were doing it, it was no problem. And we got permission to be there from the person in charge of Parliament, all right, the sergeant, all right. And so he then came and attacked me. He just came while I was talking to another police officer, having a good conversation right there. He came behind me and just bumped me off the stairs. If I had twisted my ankle or fall and hurt, I could have hit my head. You know, someone could hit their head like that and die. All right? Anything could have happened. Call, hold the line 1 second. I'll get with you in a second. And so he went and did that. Next thing you know, we were being arrested. And the media was showing us, because the media is a part of all of this, like Sylvan has been saying. The media they didn't show the peaceful side of what was going on. They just showed the rowdy part because they want to paint us as rowdy, all right, so that we could look unpresidential and people shouldn't vote for us because we're rowdy, is what the media is being told to push. They showed that part of it, but we were locked up. I want to say, and I want to congratulate the police officers who came there and told the truth. Officer Styles came there, who's a puppet of Brave Davis and those. He came there and he told this story that was like, it's like, where were you? None of this happened, you know? The other officers who were there came and testified, and they testified against Styles. They said that basically that what Styles is saying is untrue, that we were peaceful, there was no problem until Styles attacked me. The police came and testified against a senior man. That almost never happens. They just say, I just got to follow instruction. They tell me say this, they tell me write this report, they tell me say that, I just got to do it. On the public record, Styles said one thing, and the police came and said, two police officers, one of a senior rank and one of a middle rank, said what Styles is saying, it didn't happen like that. Not all police are corrupt, and that's why we need a new government to take over, because there are some good people, and so that we could put the good people in charge of the force and leave them alone to do their work. And so we are suing the government on that case with Styles too, where they pushed me off. It's a constitutional matter now. All right? And so that's why I'm telling you, it ain't all, it's just the heads that are corrupt. And they promote their people to the head so they control things. Let me take the phone call and I'll finish that conversation. Call you live.
Good day, Mr. Bain.
Good day.
Mr. Bain, I just wanted to ask you, what given an opportunity to work with your administration, you restore confidence and trust back into the police force? That's all I wanted to ask.
Thank you. That's a very good question. He said, what will we do to restore trust? First, we will remove the corrupt police officers at the top. All right? Those ones that were put there by Brave Davis, etc., those ones who got the promotion because they do the evil bidding of those in power, they will be removed immediately. The next thing that would happen is, let me make this make sense for you. Listen carefully. Let me see if this makes sense to you all too. One, if you make a complaint against a lawyer, that goes before the Bar Association. The Bar Association is an independent body. Think about that. I don't go before the government. I go before the bar. That's independent. And they investigate them and they decide to remove them or not remove them. Right? If you make a complaint against a doctor, that goes before the medical board. Wow. Isn't this interesting? But if you make a complaint against a police officer, the police investigate themselves. Now, isn't that interesting? Some say the bar don't do nothing. Sometimes that is the case. All right? But we can fix all of that. So what is going to happen is we're going to have an independent body that is responsible for investigating incidents. Proper investigation. So police officers can't be lied on and not have a proper investigation. One, and two, that the public can get the service that they need. All right, so we have to protect those police officers who are out there risking their lives, and the good ones who are there doing what they're supposed to do. All right, and if they are accused that a proper investigation will be done and there's no kangaroo court to throw them in jail because someone don't like them or they didn't do the bidding of a politician or something like that, and then get lied on. There was a police officer who was in charge of the Police Staff Association. I won't call his name, but he was fighting them, boy. And he was fighting for police officers to get overtime and all this stuff. And he was fighting the government at the time, boy. And all of a sudden, an accusation came out against him, because that's how they fight you. They make these false accusations. They always use the court to their benefit. And eventually the person who was the witness came out and said that they were coaxed by someone who is now a cabinet minister to make up that story against that police officer, and the charges were dropped. And the person still is a senior police officer today. But that's how they operate. You understand? They use the courts. Good afternoon, you live.
Pleasant good afternoon, Mr. Green. I have so much things on my mind today,
Oh,
but
Lord.
I just want to say that I do not trust the police. That's number one. My family do not trust the police.
Wow.
And we do not trust the MPs either. I notice in this country, they are promoting bad, evil people in positions in these government offices. They don't want the good people who come into work and have a good report. What you call it, A1C, or what you call it, A's. Every quarterly or every 6 months they do a assessment.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want type of people who get these good assessment. They want to corrupt people and they get a higher position in government.
Mm-hmm.
And that is bad. People work and go on to school and do their best to get these government jobs, and they put them to the bottom of the crop, get degrees, get certificates, because I am the prime minister friend,
Mm-hmm.
or the cousin, uncle, or my sweetheart. Too much corruption is in this country. And let me say another thing. It's also in the courts. Do you see how they're privatizing the courts? They're kicking out all the good people and putting these corrupt lesbian demons in place.
Mm.
And guess what? They want you to pay for everything. They don't want you. They're not helping nobody. In this country, the people need to wake up.
Mm-hmm.
They're making it hard for Bahamians. They are making it hard for Bahamians. Look how much you have to pay for business license. It's a lot of things, BPL, all kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
I do not trust the government. I do not trust the opposition, because I've seen so much of them being corrupt personally and in the government officially, doing things that they're wrong.
Yeah.
They're wrong on many fronts, and they are not stepping down. And guess what? They don't want to step down. They're gonna fight to stay in power.
Mm-hmm.
So your people better wake up to fight to keep your country.
Yeah. Thank you for your call.
This place is corrupt.
It is. Thank you. I appreciate your call, man. 803-5995 is the number. Sorry, I should have put that up on the screen so you can remember it. 803-5995 is the number. I will make this announcement based on my experience with the police force at this time. I do not trust the police force. That's not because of the hard-working officers that are on the force every day trying to do what is right. It's because of the head. All right? And the connections that you now start to see. I haven't even touched the connections yet. But the connections. Bajon Ferguson needs to be interviewed and questioned. That's the lawyer, BJ, who was allegedly a part of all of this. They need to question Bajon Ferguson, who was also the lawyer for the Commissioner of Police when he got all that money. Bajon Ferguson is a PLP lawyer who apparently seems to be doing the dirty work for the PLP, the rough work, the blue-collar work. I remember when me and Maria were fighting for Bella. Remember when we was fighting for baby Bella? So that the father could bury the child properly? people were saying, "Oh, Maria, them selling dreams, and the father don't have rights because they wasn't married. It's the mother rights." And we were trying to explain to people that that's not how the law works. All right, the mother has rights while the child is alive. While the child dies, there's something different. Um, but the Wayne Monroe apparently sent Bajon Ferguson to get to creep in there to represent the mother and the criminal, of course. He sent Bajon to represent the criminals to get the mother after this child was abused to be in the custody of the mother, and Bajon was doing their dirty work. Um, Once you see there's something where there's a political connotation or anything, you're going to see Bajon show up to do their work. There was a situation where a young man, they say, threatened Brave Davis when I was under arrest in the station, and they said he made some statements. Bajon sneaked in and started representing the young man. And because I couldn't get in it, it was difficult for me to tell them, listen, if Bajon is representing the young man, you can lose that case. The young man lost the case, even though Brave Davis never made a complaint and never testified in the case. The virtual complainant. That's like someone walk up to me and slap me. I said, you know what? Forget that. I forgive you. God bless you. And the police lock him up, came to court, and charge him with assaulting me. I never made a complaint, and I never show up to court to testify, and they find him guilty. When I saw Bajon, I said, oh my God. And so he is being used to do a lot of that dirty work too. Again, remember, he was the commissioner's lawyer, and so he wants to I guess be a candidate, etc. But they always have to have certain lawyers to do that with you dirty work. But he works closely with Wayne Monroe, and so that's why you're seeing what you're seeing. I want to say to the national movement, I see that Minnis made a statement. Minnis made a statement about having a commission of inquiry. Minnis, I think you need to sit down and shut up. Minnis, go sit down and shut up. I don't have to explain why I'm saying that to you, because it's you that we need to have a commission of inquiry on. Maybe the commission of inquiry should start with your relationship with Togi and Bobo, Minnis. Maybe that's where the gang commission of inquiry should start, on how a gangster could be coming in your house on a regular basis to give you fish for you to make stew fish with. Minnis, sit down and shut up. Mine, people had some sympathy on you because Pinta had robbed you in that convention and they did a bunch of skullduggery. But sit down and shut up. Don't even bring up commission of inquiry, because then we got to bring up Dorian and a lot of other things. Minnis, go sit down in the corner and let real Bahamians who care about and love this country have this conversation. Go sit down. Because then we could talk about your relationship with another gangster, Peter Nygard, who didn't name you, but you were described. He described the person who gave him the license before you know what happened there, for his stem cell to do. He named you without naming you. He said the person was a minister of health who became a prime minister. That's only you. That's Peter Nygard. Minnis, go in the corner and don't do that. And to Dwayne Sands, we heard Dwayne Sands have a lot to say about all of this stuff that's going on. And he's going to have something to say because Pintard is going to be afraid to open his mouth. The problem we're having in this country is that we keep having to choose between bad and evil. So if you go from Brave, and we remember all of Brave's connections and et cetera, right? If you go from Brave and then go to Pintard, Pintard is also associated with criminals. Pintard, an emperor. Pintard spoke with Empress Fronwell. He was named in the obituary. Pintard had a lot of close connections with these criminals. Remember, these gangsters, Togi and Bobo, with that murder for hire situation that they call it now, it was Pintard. He was on tape offering these guys $500,000 to do certain things. So you want crime to get better, so you're going to vote for Pintard? We need a whole new country. This one broken. We got to start over. And the F&M has no rights to speak on this, because then we got to talk about Lanisha Roll and what she was doing while she was in there allegedly. Then we got to talk about Adrian Gibson and what he was doing while they were there allegedly. Shannon Cartwright, who said the devil made him do it, meaning persons above him, minister. Then we got to ask where the $17 million went for the drones. Then we got to ask about that LMS system, $17 million that never worked. That was a nightmare. $17 million. Then we got to ask about the missing $250 million. We need a commission of inquiry on that, Minister, because that was under you, and you refused to account. The missing $6 million in drones, the missing Dorian supplies. One thing the PLP and F&M keep doing is telling you that they are corrupt, they are no good, and they are not good for this country. The PLP and F&M have been telling you that for years now. For decades, the F&M tells you how bad and corrupt the PLP is. The PLP tells you how bad and corrupt the F&M is. And instead of you believing them, you keep voting for them. Believe them when they tell you that they are not good for this nation. Don't believe nothing else, but believe that they are not good for this nation. All right? And so, trying to see your comments. And so again, Sylvans is there, and we're going to throw our full support behind that young man who took a stand and got shot. I don't want them to think that they could intimidate any Bahamian who's going to decide to open his mouth. All right? Don't let them intimidate you. We're looking forward to more people coming forward. Someone had asked me a question about what we will do to bring the trust, and I got interrupted. There's a couple of things. I started by saying that we're going to have independent bodies, and we're going to have who are going to judicially investigate wrongs by police officers. Right? We're going to have an internal affairs. Internal affairs means that you're constantly investigating wrongdoings in immigration, in defense force, in the police force. You're going to have a force that watches the force. All right, that's unrelated, with rewards and incentives for catching corruption. We don't believe police are going to be corrupt moving forward based on what we are going to offer, and so we're gonna watch them. We're gonna make sure that there's a proper systematic process for promotions. Police go where their skills are. All right. If a police have a certain skills, he goes to a certain place based on his education, his skills, and what he is good at. All right. And they are promoted based on merit, not because Lincoln say promote that one, that's his boy. Those days are going to be over. We're going to have a meritocracy in this country. It is doable. Many countries have done it. We're going to have a meritocracy in this country where you're promoted by your merit, not because you voted COI. It's going to be because of your merit. All right. And so that's what we're going to do. We're also going to fix the court system, but that's another story. But in terms of the police force and getting the people's trust back, you're going to be able to trust your police chief, because remember, we're going to island states and city government, and every island is going to have a police chief. This is how they do in the U.S. And guess who's going to determine who the police chief is? You. And so you're going to be able to look at that police officer and say, boy, this fellow was a good fella. He, you know what? I didn't like how he used to always arrest us, but you could respect him. And he's educated and he gets voted in on his merits. All right. And so they can be accountable, and those chiefs can be fired for wrongdoing. Understand? And so just like they do it with the chiefs of police in the US, we're going to make sure that the prime minister, remember the whole thing about the COI, the biggest thing is not the natural resources. The biggest thing is taking power from the prime minister and the MPs and giving it to the people. And so we're going to make sure that certain positions are voted on. Why can't you vote for your judges on your island state of Grand Bahama, of Eleuthera, of Abaco? We have to give the power to the people, and then the corruption will end. All right? There are good police officers. We just have to put them in charge of the force and move the corrupt ones. I was a police officer on, listen to this carefully. I was a police officer on Bay Street. My first joined the job. The Treasury was robbed. We were there on Bay Street. Great course running to the Treasury. We had over the radio set. We ran to the Treasury. Oh, we're going to defend the people's money. When we got there, a senior police officer was standing there by the Treasury. He was watching God. He said, no, you're not happening here. Y'all go that way. But boss, we had over the radio set. Don't worry about the foolishness they talking on the radio set. Y'all go that way. Go that way. I can put you in charge. I experienced this. The Treasury is being robbed. And so the person's got away with assistance of police, a senior police. It's a known PLP police officer. All right? Even though the PLP wasn't in power at the time. A few, I think it was weeks later, I don't remember if it was weeks or months, we were on patrol and we saw two of the persons who were wanted for that. We stopped them. We had them. We saw on patrol. We were right off, we was on West Bay Street near the Hilton area. We stopped the fellas. And we did a name check because we knew they was wanted. To send the control room. We knew that was the fellas. Send the names. They sent back and said, no, let them go. You're nothing in the system on them. Let them go. What? This fella's name was put out there. Let them go. Me and my partner was working in Bay in town. We wouldn't take bribes. And there were some people at the station who would take bribes from the drug dealers, Shanghai, et cetera, et cetera. That was a drug dealer at the time. And if we lock up someone, I don't care if that's Shanghai boy, if he's selling to Shanghai, you lock up and you can't give me and my partner no bribes. And some of the corrupt persons at the station, the corrupt ones, they had a problem with that. And they used to call me and him FBI because we wouldn't go along with what was happening. One day, because we always went for lunch together, one day he went for lunch with his wife, and a fella from CID came in the station and said, there's a fellow over there wanted. His name is Nugget. He's wanted. I need someone to go with me to arrest him. He said, Lincoln, you go. I was on break, but okay, I'll go. They gave me a radio set. It wasn't really working properly, apparently. Went over there with this fella. It turned out to be a setup. I went through McQuay Street, that's opposite Nassau Street. I went through McQuay Street with a gentleman, and we saw Nugget. He pointed Nugget out to me from afar. When we got close, I went to Nugget because I was always the brave, bold one. I wasn't afraid of anything. I went, I grabbed him by his belt in the front, and I said, you lock up. And he looked at me and laughed as if I must be crazy. And I was surrounded by people. Fellas was jumping off the porch, and they had, weapons. And rock and bottle and whatever else they had. And they had me surrounded. And when I looked, the CID officer I came with was on the other side of the crowd as if he came with them, like as if he was with them. So I realized what was going on. So um, they said, I'm not coming to there with their boss. No, that's their God or whatever. I said, okay, well, if that's your God, then I can see y'all in hell. And I started shooting and I started fighting. Nugget got away in the struggle, chased him, he got away. The fellas was fighting. And I locked up at least four of the fellas. It was more than 20 fellas that was there. I locked up four of them. Some of them was on the ground, hurt bad. Um, One skill I have is fighting. I always had that skill. Martial arts is my thing. Um, and as I was calling for help, no one would come. No one would come. The station right there, no one. I screaming out for help. No one would come. No one. And Ellison Greenslade, from wherever he was in charge of Central at the time. He got there before the people at the station right there. He got there. Ellison Greenslade. He was in charge of Central at the time. He was a commissioner. So some people ask why I don't, attack Ellison Greenslade or why I didn't. I had experience with him. He came there, and when he came to the corner, I had two fellas in this hand and two fellas in this hand by their belt. And when he reached, the people started coming, the officers started coming out of the station, and they were shocked that I was alive. But God was preserving me for something else. So none of them couldn't kill me that day. Just like Sylvan's Mayator couldn't be killed last night because God was preserving him to expose them some more. Ellison Greenslade transferred the corrupt persons from the station. First, he transferred me and my partner because he found out that we was the ones who wasn't corrupt and that they, just to save our life, he transferred us. He punished some of the other ones and then he transferred them out. That was my experience. My brother was on the force also. He was the first police force. You heard me say this story before, but some people might know. First officer of the year. I want you to see the culture and it always the slackness. He was the first police officer of the year. I want you to hear this one, more important than the last story I just told you. My brother was police officer of the year. He was at the airport. He had the airport on lock. No drugs, no money, no guns could move through there. He was awesome because he had informants and he was sharp. And he had that airport on lock. And they awarded him. The United States Embassy loved him because he had the airport on lock. If drugs was coming through there, he would find it. He could look at them fellas when they coming in on a Jamaican flight or the Haitian flight. He could tell who doing the foolishness. He would catch them every time. But I can't say every time, but he would catch them a lot. They even had one time he found a big amount of money. I think it was millions of dollars. He turned in every cent. It's like, wow, just trying to turn in every cent. That was strange. But in any event, the election came and the PLP won. All right? The PLP won the election. The drug dealer came to my brother and said, listen, we in power now. We transferring you as far from the airport as possible. You're gone. My brother said, well, you better get from him. As far as he's concerned, the U.S. people love him. Everyone love him. He's officer of the year. He got the airport unlocked. But he didn't understand corruption, especially when the PLP is in. And the drug dealer came to him. To them, we transferring you as far from the airport as possible. The next day, my brother got a call that he's transferred to Elizabeth State Police Station. My brother promptly resigned from the police force because he didn't sign his contract over yet. What bothered him wasn't that he got transferred. What bothered him was that the drug dealer called him and told him that. The drug dealer was Ozzy, who recently was released from jail. I called the name. We in power, you getting transferred. This is how corruption works. I want you to understand that Michael Johnson is not working on his own. The police don't do anything without going up top first. Nothing. They call up first. Michael Johnson was not acting alone. So this nonsense about this investigation and this and that, if the police force wants us to trust them again, the head has failed. With this kind of skullduggery that took place, when the basketball team lose, what they do? They fire the coach, right? If you have this major breach and the commissioner didn't know what was going on, the commissioner had to say, this happened under me, I resign. Clayton Fernander, you have to fall on your sword. You have to resign. No officer at that rank will make that kind of decision without getting permission from up top. Clayton Fernander told me over and over, oh, yeah, CDU said you didn't commit no crime and you shot the gun in the air. I'm going to give you your gun. I'm going to give you your gun, man. He said that over and over. But when they check with the politician and the politician give them other instructions, then whatever happens, happens. I don't want you to think for 1 second, because they say that this one was out of town, that one's out of town. That phone working. Michael Johnson was not acting on his own. There's a corruption. When the politicians work with the criminals. I told you that before election. I told you that after election. The reason for crime, I've been saying this and people are not paying attention. The reason for crime in this country is the politicians. Tyrone Fowler used to get dropped to Perry Christie's house. He used to go to Perry Christie's house. The prime minister, Tyrone Fowler, was a drug dealer, a big drug dealer back in the day. Used to hang in Perry Christie's house. They keep working with them as a part of what they do. Crime will not be solved if the persons who committed the crime are working for the politicians or with the politicians. It cannot be solved. And because some of you just tuning in, I can say this again. Have you noticed that since this whole thing come up, there hasn't been one murder? Not one murder. Since last week when this thing come up, no one get murdered. Have you noticed that in the beginning of the year, there were murders like crazy? Like crazy. And then all of a sudden, America put out a statement or whatever, and we needed it to get under control. You notice the murders stopped. All of a sudden, just like that. Wayne Monroe's job is to protect criminals. The new gang legislation, I showed you it in writing. It makes it so that if you murder someone, now people saying these killers working for the politician. So they made a law that if you murder someone, as long as it's gang related, you cannot get the death penalty. They put that in writing in the new gang legislation. I read it on another live. They also put that if it's retaliatory, if the killing is retaliatory, which most of our killings are, you cannot get more than 20 years. Jesus. This whole thing is happening right before your eyes. They changed the law so that if you killed someone and it was a retaliatory killing, you can't get more than 20 years. I showed you that on the live already. They're making it so that the fellas who working for them, and even if you're, don't worry about that. And did you hear how comfortable that gentleman was talking to the head of CDU? Like, that's just the business of being together. This what we do. Or you got to pay to play. Okay, you all robbed the armor truck. Okay, you got to free up. That's the tip of the iceberg. That's one that Sylvans has exposed. If that happens so easy, how much more is there? Think about that. If that happened that easy, imagine how much other cases there are. We need not just a proper investigation, but we need that officer, Michael Johnson, arrested right away. Someone says, you can't blame the government. That's a rogue police officer. That's not a rogue police officer. This is the culture of this government that is in power. That's their culture. They're behind all of this. They're controlling all of this. I do another live to expose some more. But there's a demonic, dark culture, and that's why crime can't be solved. It's like they don't want it solved. They want the CCTVs not functioning. That's why Maria challenged them. Why the CCTVs ain't working? A lot of them. Why the CCTVs ain't working? Why, if you, like they said, they told Maria, oh, they got 700 CCTV cameras, all right? But that don't really say how much working. But, okay, if you got 700 CCTV cameras, why you got one person or two marks watching 700 cameras? How much eyes you got? Two. But the both of them only can look at one thing at a time. So you saying you have 700. Now we toured that facility. And we were told that the problem is manpower. So even if you have the CCTV cameras, why don't you want them watched? It's like they want crime to go through, like when they removed my brother from the airport. Think about that. Drones? You think they can ever bring them drones for real? Never. They don't want crime to be solved. They want the criminals to be able to run over this country. As simple as that. All right, so I think that's all I'm going to do today. We're going to try to get in contact with Sylvans and make sure he's okay. And I'm sure he's watching this, although he can't identify. The officers have his phone right now. We made attempts to call him. The police have his phone, apparently, and he's under protection, right, under pseudonym. Congratulations, Sylvans, a regular Bahamian who decided to stand up. We need more of you to stand up. We need more of you good police officers to stand up and say no. Testify against the corrupt ones, even if they are if you got to get transferred to make honor. Stand up and do what's right. Because we got to save our country. You see, immigration was corrupt because of the minister. Those in charge, the director and the deputy director and the other officers, they didn't like the corruption that was going on. They see what was going on, that our country was being flooded, etc. And so they stood up. They stood up and got the boss removed, who at the time was Keith Bell. All right? Stand up for what's right. And I gave you that example to show you that when a good government gets in power and you move the bad persons, every single ministry will flow properly, because there are persons there who don't want the bad things happening because they got to live in this country. Let me tell you something. You might be PLP or FNM, and I see PLPs already defending, saying, we don't know if someone else wanted to hurt him. We don't know what the situation was. You have to avoid corruption and the appearance of corruption. All right? And that's too big of a coincidence. Too big. You got to take the responsibility. All right? So someone said, Keith still here for now. When we vote for the Coalition of Independence and the New Bahamas, Keith will not be here. All right? Keith will pay for his crimes. As simple as that. All right? So, listen, thank all of you all for watching. There's always a lot for us to talk about. I wanted to get this out of the way and not touch this tonight. Independence is coming up. I don't necessarily celebrate independence because I believe that it is a sham. It's not real, but that's for another live. I believe that we'll have true independence when we go to a republic and we are our own nation and not having our constitution that the Queen is the sovereign head of state, even though it's just a formality and she's just a titular head. Now her son is that head. But I am a true Bahamian who loves the Bahamas, who loves everything about this Bahamas, and I am a patriot who believes in this nation. All right? And so I believe in the Bahamas. I can celebrate that every single day. All right? Every day I celebrate my love for this Bahamas, and every day I fight for this Bahamas. All right? The flag that represents the Bahamas was designed by a man who they refused to pay for his design. We start off wrong. And only because he's a Bahamian. We live in a country where everything is going wrong, but there is hope. A new Bahamas is on the horizon. Someone says that God puts people in place. The Bible was talking about Israel when it says God appoints kings, etc. It was talking about Israel when they were talking about that. That's not that God can't put anyone anywhere. That's his right. But God gives you a choice. And every time the people had a choice, and he tells you, this is your choice. If you choose this will happen. If you choose that will happen, from the Garden of Eden. He said, if you eat this fruit, this will happen. And the fruit was there. He didn't just take it away from you. He said, if you eat this fruit, they said, we want a king. And he said, well, that ain't what I want for y'all, because I want all of you to be empowered. First, they wanted a high priest. And he said, I don't want that for you. Tell the people come up in the mountain and come be with me, one-on-one. All of you all have the power. Individual, I won't be your father. And when they saw God coming down with all the rumblings and thunder and lightning, they got scared. They said, Moses, you go talk to him. This looks a little scary. Moses, we'll talk to you and you talk to him. And God was like, that isn't what I want. But if that's what they want, okay. I want a personal with each one of them. And he gave them what they want, and they suffered the consequences. They wanted a king. He said, I don't want to do that. But if that's what you all want, then I give you what you want. And so not because someone was voted in means that God put them there. Not because someone was voted in means God put them there. There's people who has been appointed king that wasn't. When David died, the other older son, inside son, not Solomon, who was with Bathsheba, they started celebrating him as king. Bathsheba had to come to David and say, listen, they done anoint this other brother king. So sometimes the wrong person get anointed. When Saul died, the second king of Israel was not David. The second king was not David. A lot of you think that. All right? The second king was Saul's son, Ishbosheth. Not David. David had to wait 22 years to become king. And in the meantime, they had a wrong king. David eventually was over Judah. But in terms of all of Israel, Ishbosheth after Saul. God didn't anoint Ishbosheth. So in many instances, someone who is not anointed to be there can be there. And I feel that that's the darkness that is happening in the country right now. Where Dr. Miles said, if you choose wrong, you go 50 years forward or 50 years backwards. Your choice. But I feel that David was anointed from he was 15, and he wasn't the next king. He had to wait 22 years in the desert, in the wilderness. So don't think just because they have this saying, the voice of the people is the voice of God. That's Pinlin saying that in the Bible. The people vote wrong many times. The crowd could be wrong. The majority could be wrong. And this country is in a dark place because the Bible says when the wicked rule, the people mourn. That means that person there, that ain't who God want there. When the wicked rule, the people mourn. So don't think because they win the election that God wanted them to win the election. I said it to say you're going to have a choice. Some people say, oh, this is going to happen. And some people try to predict, oh, the election, this can happen. This one going to be leader. This one going to be leader. No, God will give us a choice. And you make your choice. And then you live with it. We made our choice to go backwards so that Long Island ain't got no water, no electricity working properly. Eleuthera ain't got no water, electricity working properly. The whole country is going backwards. Nothing is going right except the leaders are balling while we are mourning. The people mourning because the wicked is in power. Gotta change this country. Gotta change this country. You have a choice to make. That's it. And that's all. We need real leadership. You don't need educated people, you know. You don't need the most educated people. You don't need the smartest people. These people come with their code suit and stuff and then disappointing you. We don't need none of that. Just be smart. There's some more I wanted to talk about, but I decided to save some things for later. Let's see what the government response could be. But listen. So of course, after this live, you might see some attacks or something like that. I see my phone ringing, but I'm about to come off the live. Let me see if they're trying to reach me on the live. I'll take this last one. Caller, you're live. You're live, caller. Oh, I guess they didn't want to talk on the live. But ladies and gentlemen, all we need is good leadership, and the country could move forward. Now, if you all will continue with leadership, if you want to put, okay, caller, you're live. Caller, go ahead. Can you hear me? Hold on. Something I was supposed to. Go ahead, caller, you're live. Go ahead, caller.
I said the guy is my cousin claiming he didn't fly. This is Franklin Ferguson.
Yes.
And that ain't what happened.
Okay.
Finland couldn't give any decision because Finland didn't come into it, did not get ready to war until July of 1971 when he changed the cabinet. All those decisions were already made.
Which decisions of the design of the flag?
With regard to the flag, the coat of arms, the all of those, everything, all the symbols.
Let me just introduce you to the public because the public don't know you. Franklin Ferguson is a historian, a well-known Bahamian. He's a photographer, and he has a book that's out, a phenomenal book that shows the history because most Bahamians don't know their history. So Franklin is coming here to enlighten Bahamians on the flag. He said it didn't go really like that. Don't blame Finland. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying to you, I promise you I covered it, but I bet you know what really happened. I have my second book, all the details of it.
Go ahead.
All the players. But it's not true. People can have same colors, but A.D. Hanna defined every color on that before Finland made his move. So when he went to Finland, it was not so. The guy who did the design is very much now is a doctor. Purpose then only did the composite of the flag. He did not do the flag, nor the coat of arms. It's not his idea. There were students in the competition who did that. And I know all the students there. One government high school in New Providence. I have those names. I kept the record. I was in Parliament.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. But here's where the problem comes in. Let's say Nike has a. Hold on. Let's say someone designs okay. Let me use an example. Yeah, Nike. Someone designs a swoosh, right? And they're using that swoosh to do.
Could you please listen?
Go ahead.
All anybody wants to do is go in Parliament. The records are in Parliament when everything was done.
Yes, I know when everything was done, but the gentleman is proven that he designed that flag before all of that. No, not just the color and the form, the shape, everything. The triangle in the middle.
No, sir. No, sir.
Yeah, I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen the documentation.
I'm telling you what I saw in Parliament.
No, you're talking about what they did with the flag in Parliament. But this gentleman made that design before Parliament did what they did. So let me give you an example, and everyone who is listening, just give me 1 sec. Let me just say this. For example, there was a time when Nike could not sell clothing in Spain because someone had designed the word Nike, the Greek god of victory, to do clothing before Nike came doing shoes. So when Nike wanted to expand to Spain, they had to get a license from this person, even though they designed their Nike in America, et cetera, because this person owned that in Spain before them, they had a problem. Then there was Lacoste.
Yeah.
Lacoste has. Let me just finish. I'll let you talk.
I don't want to get into an argument. I write.
No. I know you're not arguing, but I'm trying to make sure I have to educate the public on how this copyright stuff works. I have a duty to do that.
No. You go ahead, but I'm saying to you.
Right.
I'm saying to you, I was in Parliament when those things were discussed.
Yes. That has nothing to do with the fact that he designed it before that was discussed.
All I'm saying is, sir, Finland had nothing to do with those improvements. So if you went to Finland and said that, Finland couldn't do nothing because this thing is already passed. Finland did not fully participate in the beginning.
It doesn't matter. Finland is the chief executive officer of. No, listen, why I said that. Finland is the chief executive officer of the country. If he realizes that we breached the copyright, if they had realized that they accidentally put the American coat of arms in our thing, or something from an American corporation in our designs, you don't think Finland would correct that?
Sir, all I can say to you, I have written what happened. I named all the players.
You know, a lot of people wonder how.
Yes, thank you, man. And I'm looking forward to reading that. I'm looking forward to all Bahamians reading it.
I thought your show was over. That's why I called you.
Oh, my bad. Okay, I almost there. I wanted to be over. All right. So what he is saying is that he's a well-known Liberal Party supporter, old school one. He should be almost 80 by now, or in his 80s. Good, very good fellow. All right, but what he is saying is that a lot of people still feel the need to protect, the party no matter what they do. What he's saying is that Finland them made that design. All right. Well, not Finland, but whoever the committee, etc., was that they made that design. But they made the design based on an already existing design. So what I was trying to explain to you is that here's where the problem comes in. Even the Lacoste with the alligator, Lacoste didn't have rights in a certain country to use that alligator because someone is already using that on clothing. All right. And now you'll even see they have a Lacoste that's pointed to the left and one that's pointed to the right. All right. Because both of them were claiming rights to it, but they couldn't take rights from the original person. So they just switch it to do it in the next direction. So what happened there was this fella designed the design of the flag for his board game, and it was design of his board game. And it's to a T. All right. I've seen the board game. He still has the original. I've seen all the documentation where it was registered. I've seen the conversations with the politicians from the past. They promise him money. Even ministers promise him money. But then they keep trying to drag it on and push it on. The COI is going to make sure he gets paid for what is truly his. But Finland them came with the same design he have, and instead of them saying, oops, yeah, here's your money, we're going to pay you. They promised him it. They promised him $20 million and 100,000 a year, and they never gave it to him. So they acknowledged it. And I've also seen another court decision related to that. And so the man should be honored. But the reason he's not getting paid is because he's Bahamian. As simple as that. All right. So I just want to say, enjoy your holiday. Um, Hopefully, crime is going to go down for the rest of the year because the scandal has been happening. If something happens to Sylvans, uh, if he chokes on some food, if he's poisoned, we're going to believe that it was this administration that did it. All right. You cannot separate this administration from the police because they are puppets of this administration. The commissioner don't do nothing without asking permission of the prime minister. All right, nothing. He's a puppet of this administration. And while we want what's best for our country, you cannot have your puppets that you put there. And we see all of these different skullduggery that's going on all over the country. We see where persons are being abused because they go against the government. We are living in a dictatorship. All right. We're living in a dictatorship where your political opponents are being abused. They're going to use the courts and everything else against the political opponents. They're going to pay out the media, buy out the media with bribes, etc. And that's what's happening. They're going to silence persons. Now they've gone to the point of violence, apparently, as it relates to a whistleblower. And so we hope that the FBI gets involved. The only thing we're concerned about is that when countries, big major countries, find skullduggery on politicians, they don't charge them, they don't punish them, they use it against them to control them. So that's my biggest concern, that instead of really punishing them, they're going to just use it to say, brave, we got this on you, do what we say. And so that's where a lot of the problem comes in. But thank you all for tuning in. Like I said, I have a lot more to talk about. We'll see how I reveal that. But I want to leave that there for now. All right. But God bless you. We love you. And I want you to remember all we need. Some people say, y'all need good candidates. You need good candidates. All right. Get one from here, one from there. We don't need people who are going to sell out. No. We need a new breed of people who are going to transform this country. So take these videos with you as you go. And remember, all you need is good leadership that's going to look out for the country and not be corrupt. I wish I could say more today, but I'll leave it there for now. Anything I said today about courts or anything was not to sway you one way or another as it relates to the termination of the court case. It's just public information. And I'm not saying we're innocent or guilty. I'm not saying that the police were right or wrong. I'm telling you, go read and you come to your own conclusion. And if you see that what Leamond Deleveaux put in that affidavit that's now public, if that is what happened, then you could trust the police force. If it is not what happened, you cannot trust the police force to investigate anything in this country, as long as he is in charge of that. And so with SIB being the persons assigned to do that, SIB is still a tool of the Commissioner of Police, and the Commissioner of Police is a tool of the Prime Minister. Nothing is going to come of this. They're going to let him be a fall guy and promise him something in the future after this dies down, and nothing is going to come out of this. He is not going to be arrested. I challenge you on that. He's not going to be put before the courts. And even if he is, remember, the Prime Minister puts the judges in places. Isn't that lovely? Ladies and gentlemen, God bless you. We love you. See you next time. Oh, I want you to remember also.
A lot of people wonder.
I want you to remember to come on Carmichael Road tomorrow. I should have said this from the beginning. Carmichael Road on a Mermaid Park, Mermaid Boulevard Park. We are going to be there. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there with our whole team, and we're going to have some fun. I don't have the hours. They should have been here to give me the hours. Anyone here who give me the hours when we starting on Carmichael Park? Okay, if someone is there who could put it in the text, please do. because I don't have the hours. But I guess I'll put up the. Let me see if we have the flyer in the system, because everyone busy working to make that happen. I don't know if that's the flyer. Let me see. Yep, that's the flyer. Let's see what the hours are. All right, so we having a family fun day tomorrow on the 10th. Come spend time with me. Come sit down and talk to me. If you wanted to meet me and you couldn't catch up with me because everyone trying to call me, from 12 p.m., just July 10th from 12 p.m., we're going to be on Mermaid Park. Just go on Mermaid Boulevard, that's somewhere around there. We're going to have bouncy castle, water slides, giant floor games. We're going to be out there having some fun prizes, surprises. Bring your kids out. They even have some water slides out there, so bring your kids in short pants, etc., so they can come get wet. But we're going to be out there and we're going to be having fun. Come spend the day with us. And that's the Michael constituency of the COI is having that, but this is for the whole COI. So I'm looking forward to seeing you all out there. Come and give us your support. Thank you so much for that. That's where I'm going to be hanging out all day tomorrow. So if you ever wanted to sit down and talk to me, I'm going to be sitting down talking to everyone and eating a lot of hot dog and Coke Zero and whatever else they have out there. Some good food is going to be out there too. Good food. If you don't know where to buy food from tomorrow, if you don't want no Wendy's and all this kind of stuff, come out there and some good food is going to be there under the tents. All right. So come out and support us. God bless you. We love you. See you next time.
Wonder how Dubai became a very big, famous, and rich city.
You see, if you're comparing with Nigeria, listen to this. Nigeria has oil before than Dubai. It's a history. They are more rich than us. They have agriculture, they have mining, they have everything. You name it, they have it. Am I right or wrong? When you have a true leadership, which we have nothing, but we have everything because we have the right leadership. That's the only thing you need, a right leader for your country, not corruption. That's what brings your country at the top. You don't need anything. We want water, we don't have agriculture, we don't have mining.
That's quite interesting.
And that's
I don't
Sheikh
know
Mohammed.
how
Number one, he doesn't.
you did this in 50 years. You look at history. Who does this? Show me anybody else that has done this in 50 years. I'm waiting. Show them to me. This wasn't done by money. Money doesn't produce visions. Visions produce money. You've had leadership over here that were visionaries, great visionaries, and their vision was more about the people than the money, because you can't accomplish this in 50 years without loving your people first, because the people are the ones that's benefiting from this. Look at your health care. Look at your road system. Look at your highway system. Look at your airports. Who does this in 50 years? But who benefits? You're going to care about those people. It's something to be learned about what's been done over here that could be duplicated in the world, because there's people with this much money. You just don't have people with this much love for their people.